We are with our favorite local estate attorney, Chris Small. We are talking today about, I love asking him questions. We are talking today about community property. What's up, Chris? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm happy that you can hear me because we had some problems with that beforehand. But yeah, things are great. It's raining outside. It's right where we're supposed to be, I think. So
We know we know he's local because he knows it's raining outside.
that's
But
right.
Chris has done a recent video and it made me think about and why I wanted to choose community property today is because we have a lot of clients that they're not necessarily together when they buy a house, and there's a lot of things that go into it, and we just have questions. So Chris, can you tell us about community property here in Washington and something that maybe just kind of dumb down it a little bit,
Yep.
and what's it all mean for us?
Okay. Yep. So community. So really, there are two different types of property that you can sort of have when you're thinking about this type of thing. You have community property and you have separate property. As you might expect, separate property is yours individually. Community property, and what we're talking about when you're in a relationship, is sort of owned equally by both people in the relationship. Most of the time, you think about community property in terms of getting married. Typically from the moment you're married, moving forward, everything is considered to be community property. So any income that you earn, any retirement savings that you earn, even if you buy a house in one person's name after you're married, it's still both owned equally by both people. Okay. Um, Separate property is what you would bring into a marriage potentially, or there is something called a committed intimate relationship, CIR, which some people would say think about as terms of like a common law marriage. Pretty tricky to get there. It's not even just moving in together. You really have to have like a shared life for the most part, shared bank accounts. You have to not just be roomies, you have to be really committed in this relationship, as the name implies. So when it comes to, real estate, what can be tricky is here's one interesting tidbit, by the way, that people don't think about a lot.
Love
We
tidbits.
are a sort of a strict community property state, okay, which means if you are married or in a committed relationship, this common law type of thing, then everybody literally owns 50% of everything. And there are no like spousal inheritance rules in Washington, so you can give away your half of your house to anyone that you want. Okay, not your spouse. And this has happened sometimes with people that come in. They are married, but they are like, sometimes people stay married and they're not happy, right? They will come in and say, I want to give everything to, like, most of the time it's to the kids or to like somebody else, but not their spouse, which can create a weird situation because if they die first, you're going to have a spouse owning half of a house and whoever else they have given their half of the house to somebody else. So, that's sort of like community property in a nutshell. It's something to think about and remember, particularly as you go on, because the accumulated appreciation in your real estate is often a high part, like a big part of people's net worth,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to split that with your spouse. So
Any weird things about people that aren't, maybe aren't married and purchasing property together? Maybe that's going 50-50 on down payment. Maybe one's bringing a down payment. After they're married, does that automatically become community property, or is there any sticky stuff with that?
yeah, um, a couple. So when if you're ever contributing to a down payment and you're not going to be on the property for whatever reason, I would consider paying the money to talk to a real estate attorney and doing a couple different things. One of the things that you would want to have like a written agreement probably with your person, just to say like, this is what I put in and this is the agreement on what's going to happen with the appreciation. Are you going to share in that or not? And just, it doesn't have to be like really fancy,
Okay.
but you do kind of want to get the gist of what everybody's doing before you put the money in. So that way everybody just understands, what's going on. the other thing that you can do, if you're really serious about it, is you could then you could, after you closed, right? Because you don't want you want this before you close, because the bank will get a little grumpy. After you close and your current mortgages on the house, you could probably actually record that agreement. Mm-hmm. And that way, if the other person ever tried to sell the house, the title company would be like alerted to this other sort of underlying obligation and would at least let you know about it probably before they closed, because that would be a red flag for them. So that's the prepaying, things like that. What was the other question? Do you remember?
So you're talking about anything that happens afterwards. If
right.
Yeah.
So it depends. This is, by the way, this is more like family law stuff, but it's okay because people do ask about it.
Yeah.
So if I bought a house, let's say if I bought a house, and then I got married after the fact, mm-hmm. And there's a mortgage on it, let's say, there are sort of a couple different ways that it can be handled. If I just continue to pay that mortgage out of my own separate property, then that house will definitely remain separate. Mm-hmm. Right. So I have my separate bank account that I made beforehand. Now I have a joint account with my spouse, and I'm paying everything though out of this individual account that I had originally. That can get a little bit tricky because once you're married, any income that you have is community. So you don't want to put community property into your individual accounts, because then it kind of becomes community property. You want to really, if it's going to be separate, keep it over here. But there's an argument if you are making mortgage payments, if you are doing upgrades, updates, things like that out of joint, out of community property, then the community would share in some of that appreciation, right? It really is one for the divorce attorneys to work out if you break up. But it is important to know. It is important to know as you're going through that. Most people, they're married when they're doing this stuff, so they're not really thinking about that a lot. But if you are coming into a relationship, or getting, coming into something, and you're bringing in a lot of your own stuff beforehand, then you may want to do a prenup, right? And to sort of circle the wagons on this whole thing, the main thing that a prenup really does is, it does two things. The main thing that it does in our context, though, is it outlines just what is whose, So you really would just say, I have this, I'm coming in with this house. This house is going to remain separate property no matter what. All the appreciation is mine. You're coming in with whatever you got over here. That's going to be all yours, no matter what. And then you're really just outlining what are we bringing in and what is sort of out of the discussion if we break up, kind of a thing. So that's that.
I know it's a lot. And of course,
yes.
Now we know people, plan ahead at the Christopher Small. That's his Instagram handle. If you have questions about community property and really just how to plan your estate. And of course, what's your slogan now? Think of dead or something. Think death. I don't remember.
My new one. This is not this is not for the public, but you're gonna die.law. But I actually don't even have a website on there or anything like that. I'm just gonna have some swag. I just think it's fun. But yes, you're gonna die. Unfortunately, we all are.
Making it fun, but the fun part is that you're planning for it so that there's no surprises, and he knows exactly how to help you out with that. Thank you, Chris, and we'll have another chat soon.
Thank you. It's a pleasure always.